Alright you guys, so this video is going to be a little bit different. Up a little bit early, got a little bit of a road trip to go on here this morning. It is Thursday, it's December 1st. So this road trip we're going to go check out a couple things. I'm going to pick up one of my buddies, so going to introduce you to one of my buddies, and we are going to have a conversation, discuss a couple things. Stay tuned, it'll probably be pretty interesting. Alright you guys, we are in the car, picked up my buddy over here, Muddy Branch, aka Uncle Muddy.
How you doing?
So we're taking a little road trip, gonna look at some bike parts and some stuff. So we're heading out down the road, and I was talking to him. It was funny, he had no idea that Harley Davidson is done making the Evolution engine. So from what I'm hearing, it seems like everybody has confirmed that the Sportster was the last model with the Evolution engine, and it is completely done. So heard the last bike came off of the production line in November of 2022 this year. So from what I'm hearing, that's it. It's a wrap. And I know Muddy's had a bunch of Sportsters. He started out on Sportsters, so like he was saying, he couldn't believe it either.
Yeah, I never had any issues with any of my Evos. I mean, the one that I bought, whoever had it before beat that thing so bad that the transmission was locked up. I, got in the transmission, changed that out, drove it home from there, and I drove that thing for 6 years. I mean, it didn't burn oil, it didn't use oil.
And that was a 90s model carbureted.
Right, and till this day I have a 06 that's carbureted, and it's the last year for the carb, I believe, the 06, and that's why I just can't let go of that bike. But I mean, I didn't do anything inside the motor, but I upgraded a lot of things on that bike, and you've heard that everybody honestly thinks that's a 1200 because the way it runs and sounds. When I got that bike, and the first thing I did, I was taking the baffles out of it, and the one baffle wouldn't budge, and we couldn't figure it out. Well, here to find out, it actually had a catalytic converter in there. And I guess there's only a few years for Sportsters that have that cat, and it's actually like honeycombed into the one muffler. You would think it would be on both sides to even it out, but it's only in one muffler. So what we did, took that muffler off. It was like, how they slip on. Took that one off, got the other muffler, which they're the same anyways, and took the baffle out of that and put it back on. So now, I've been riding that bike for 7-8 years. No, actually, almost 10 now.
Yeah.
Almost 10, and no baffles, no catalytic converter. It's straight through the whole thing.
Yeah, and it sounds good. That thing's a runner.
Yeah, and it don't crackle, it don't pop, nothing.
And that's what was crazy to me. We were also talking just a minute ago about the Milwaukee 8s. Like Muddy was saying, man, everyone kept saying to stay away from them engines, but nobody's given you a reason to stay away from them. They just don't trust that new Milwaukee 8. And me owning one, I looked into it a lot, because I like to research stuff before I buy it, because I don't really want to dump all this money into the bike if I don't think it's going to last. So I did a lot of research. That's why I waited to get to 2020, because the 17s to the 19s had issues with the oil pump. So they're on their third version of the oil pump, the third and final revision of the oil pump. So
Right.
that's why I got the 2020. So never buy the first model year of a bike.
anything. Yeah, right.
And then, so the big thing I'm hearing now has been about the polymer or the plastic lifter collars that Harley put on, and everyone's saying, oh, switch them out, get a, solid billet aluminum one, get, every company is coming out with a fix for something that's not an issue, I could say.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the engineers honestly would have went with that if it was that bad.
See, that's exactly what I was saying. And Corvette is putting them in the C6 engines.
Right.
On their Corvette engines are using a polymer lifter collar.
A lot of cars are using a lot of polymer parts, inside now. And here's the thing, I figure it like this. If it fails, okay, sure, then take it out and replace it with a billet one or whatever the case.
But they've been using these ones since 2017.
Right.
And I'm searching online everywhere. I can't see anybody posting about a broken
Right.
or twisted lifter collar.
Right.
Now, I heard that the Harley lifters have been locking up themselves.
Yeah, right.
But that's only been on a handful of bikes.
Yeah. It's not something that is a common thing.
Or there would have been a recall within the last 3 years on it. So,
Or they would have did it a different way, or whatever the case. Like you said, some things have different generations, and they'll keep going until they get it right.
now if I'm gonna put a 131 engine on my Harley, then yeah, if I'm in there, if I'm already doing the shit, then I'll probably put the lifter collars on.
Yeah, if you're already in there, right.
But until I get in there, why am I going to tear the whole thing apart for something that could go wrong that might not go wrong?
Right.
So this episode is going to be a little bit different, you guys. We're, taking a little bit of a road trip, and this is one of my good buddies. I've been riding with him for a long time. We've been friends for over 20 years. So we both highly enjoy Harley Davidsons, but we both started on Hondas. So
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of little random topics here that I wrote. So I'm just going to have Muddy grab them and then kind of read them and then see where the conversation goes.
All right, let's see what we got here. Are motorcycles a hobby or a lifestyle? That's a good question, actually. I mean, to me, it answers itself in a way. It starts as a hobby, I think, and then before you know it, it is a lifestyle. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, and I think it's different for everyone.
I agree.
But I can say that's 100% accurate. I started riding Hondas, and I didn't run out and get a Honda tattoo on my neck. I didn't cover my house in Honda gear, but
Right.
that opened the door.
Yeah. I thought that growing up. I seen a lot of the old school guys. I'm like, man, these guys really love their Harleys if they're willing to put that on their neck or their, all in their garage or whatnot. And you're like, wow, these guys really love their Harleys. And then you get to there and, you learn to ride, like I learned to ride on a Honda, you learned to ride on a Honda, and then I got a Sportster.
No, I rode a Sportster.
Right.
I never owned one, but I rode one.
Yeah, I remember you first telling me about you riding an 883, and I said, oh wow. I said, matter of fact, I have an 883 right now. So, and honestly, when I got that one, I didn't know anything really about bikes. It was, hey, look, I'm going to buy this Sportster. I've always wanted one. I'm going to beat this thing till it can't take anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to have fun, and it is what it is. And if it can't take it, then it can't take it. But honestly, I mean, that Evo, I think that was one of the better motors that I've ever seen in a bike. As long as, like anything, you maintain it right, 90% of the time you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But when you start dumping a lot of money into your bikes, you start maintaining them. a lot better. You start taking care of things a lot, but, you know, especially when it's your first one. You know, like I was telling somebody, my first Harley, I treated that thing like it was a Ferrari. Like it was, you know, it might have just been a Sportster to somebody, but to me, it was my first new Sportster. You know, I always wanted one. And, you know, I took care of it. I mean, you know, to somebody like us, just regular people that ride, that's a big deal, you know. Like, my Sportster right now, I got a Softail Deluxe, a 2011, and I love that. I love that bike. But for some reason, I just cannot let go of that Sportster.
Yeah,
you know,
no matter how much you beat them bikes just run.
Yeah, I mean,
2 fluid oil changes, like you're not changing 3 different fluids.
No.
Very simple, very easy to work on. Aftermarket parts, like you wouldn't believe.
That's another thing I liked about the Sportster. You know, you can buy things for a Sportster, and they're half the price as parts for, you know, a Street Glide or something else. You can do it, and they have so many more parts because it's such a common bike. As a matter of fact, if you remember correctly, the only problem I had with any Sportster, any Evo, was that clutch.
Yeah.
I guess they called it the grenade clutch or something.
Yeah, it blow apart about 20,000 miles.
Yeah, mine.
If you make it that far.
Right. I think mine had 8,000 miles on it, and the clutch, you can put it in your hand in pieces. It looked like a puzzle.
Yeah.
But it would. I drove it to the shop like that, and when it got there and the guy took it apart, he said, "How the hell do you even get it here?" And when he showed me that the clutch was in pieces, it blew my mind. But the problem, you know, he replaced it. I put a, I want to say it was a Barnett,
yeah,
Kevlar, like, you know, like a stage 2 or something, you know. And here, you know, it's a nice clutch. I didn't want to get something too crazy that, you know, grabs so hard and everything, because at the time, me and my wife, you know, we rode that when we went to Cleveland or Pittsburgh, you know, which I think of it now and I'm like, how the hell did me and her ride that thing everywhere? You know, once you ride a Softail or something like that, you're like, how the hell did I even do that?
Yeah, definitely a lifestyle, I will say that.
Yeah, so. Definitely. You know, I remember the first time I saw him after we lost touch for a couple of years. And it was weird because when we lost touch, neither one of us rode at that time, because we were, you know, we just got our license and whatnot. And then the second time I saw him, he told me about riding the 883 to Sturgis, and I said, I got an 883. You know, it's weird because we separated for a year and a half, 2 years. We see each other again, and we're both into the same thing.
Yeah.
And Harley became our lifestyle, both of us. I mean, but you know, you have a father-in-law that rides.
Yep.
I have a father-in-law that rides. My brother-in-law rides. Your brother, you know.
And I've been obsessed with motorcycles pretty much since I was a child. I used to collect the little Harley cards that came. Like, I wasn't looking for Ken Griffey or, you know, any of that.
Yeah, we were never. I
was collecting the Harley cards.
Right.
Because, dude, that was the American outlaw. That was the last of the Wild West. That was, you know, the bad boys. You know what I mean? So you're into that stuff. I guess some of us are. Some of us are into sports memorabilia and football teams. I've never been a big sports person.
Not big, no. Motorcycles. My grandfather used to race Indians back in the day when he came home from the war. So I showed you some old pictures of my grandfather on his Indians and his old Harleys, you know, and I really didn't think of that stuff until I started riding, and you look back and you can see that it went through your family and, you know, in your in-laws, and you realize how big of a lifestyle it really is to a lot of people. you know?
I remember the first motorcycle I was ever on was a Honda Silverwing. It was some guy that my Aunt Sharon was friends with, and he came over. He had this Honda Silverwing, and he took me for a ride on it. I had to have been 6 years old, and I knew right then, I was like, yeah, I'm buying a motorcycle. My Uncle Tom always had motorcycles. Never a Harley. It was always an imported cruiser style bike.
Right.
But yeah, I seen that, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna ride a motorcycle.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was the coolest thing when I was young. You know, you would see a old school biker type guy pull up, you know, on a Harley, and just the way it sounds, and you're looking and you're like, that's gonna be me. I'm gonna get me a bike like that, you know. And you say stuff like that as a kid, and you don't really think about it until you sit there one day and you're like, I remember being a kid saying, I can't wait, I'm gonna get me a Harley. And it ends up that, yeah, you got a, I mean, I have 2 right now. You have how many?
Myself 3.
I mean,
and then my wife's got a couple.
Right. I mean,
my wife has a couple.
Yeah. I mean, I even told my wife, learn to ride the Sportster, you know? But I think the thing with your wife knew how to drive manual, though, you know, because she rode before.
Well, she can't drive a stick shift, but she can ride a Harley, so yeah. I don't understand that.
Right. I mean, didn't she ride like 4-wheelers or something before, and that's how how did she learn to ride a Harley?
Well, she always rode 4-wheelers and stuff.
Right.
And when she turned 16, her dad went to Sturgis, and he was out there, and he was like, man, this is too beautiful. I want to share it with my family. And she had been bugging him because she's wanted her motorcycle license. He's rode her entire life.
Right.
He's been on a motorcycle, so he used to ride her to school, pick her up from school.
Yeah.
So, but he always said no, and then he let her get it. She got her motorcycle license when she was 16, so she's been riding since then.
Right. You know, and like trying to explain to somebody who's never drove manual or, you know, went through any type of gears whatsoever, trying to explain that to a female that never rode before is like somebody speaking Japanese to
100%.
Me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we learned old school. My first car was a 79 Honda Accord.
Yeah.
5-speed.
And I had my first car was a POS $500 Escort that was stick.
Yeah, mine, I think I paid $175 for my Accord, and had to start it with a paint can opener.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and that's how I learned, you know, that my old man said, look, you want to go somewhere, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And he left. I was so pissed off.
That's how
2 days later, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, yeah, I would like to go. Get the hell out of here.
My dad was like, I'll teach you how to drive it on Monday. Yeah, well, it's Friday night, and we pulled that thing in. So guess what? Friday night, I was driving that car, pushed it down the road, bump started it in gear, got it to drive. My brother's like, yeah, just pull it back. So, yeah, and we made it work.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't take me long. Honestly, it didn't. I've always been into cars and been in garages and whatnot, so I mean that sure helped. But
shuffle those up. Let's see what else is in there.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. Okay,
you can throw that away.
We already answered that question as we're looking at it with our Harley tattoos. Let's see what we got here. 3 misconceptions about being a young biker. Oh wow, this one's gonna be fun.
I guess we can be considered young because we're under the age of 60, and most bikers these days are
old school guys. Yeah,
real bikers.
Yeah, it's just a dying breed that they, you know, like my father-in-law, your father-in-law, you know, they don't make them like that no more. It's kind of weird how, you know, you want to say misconceptions, but there are some things it goes together, you know, like peanut butter and jelly. You know, like a lot of bikers were military guys or whatnot. A
lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing.
That's how the club started.
A lot, yeah. Honestly, most of the clubs.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's some of the richest history
right.
in motorcycles comes from the club culture.
Right.
I mean, they totally are reinventing the way that we build motorcycles and the function of motorcycles right now, because they push it to the limit. Those guys ride them bikes hard.
Right, and they don't make people, bikers like that anymore, and you have to give them the respect, I mean...
That's one of my biggest, I guess, misconceptions with people is that I'm going to be a hyper-violent person because I ride a motorcycle. No, just like 90% of your club guys out there, they are extremely dangerous people. They can be very violent.
If they have to be.
But it's a respect thing. I give respect to everybody I meet. I will shake your hand whether you are 15 or 75. I treat you the exact same way. But as soon as that respect is not given back, it's not reciprocated back to me, then, I choose just not to be around you.
Right. I agree. I do get that every now and again that, people see us, we're bikers, our tattoos, this and that, and they automatically assume, that we're criminals or...
we both have college degrees.
Right, yeah, right. And when I tell people that, they look at me like they're in shock, and I'm like, to me, that's not a shock.
No, most motorcycle people, I think, are pretty intelligent.
Right, I agree.
Whether it's on paper or not. I mean, to work on these bikes is not easy. To be able to think as fast as you have to on a motorcycle, I mean...
It's life and death.
Yeah, when you're in a car, you're in a cage, you're surrounded.
Right. It's completely different.
You have time to look around. How many people drive without their hands, cruise control, they're looking down at their phone. I mean, I'm looking at directions right now. On my bike, my head is on a swivel. I'm looking in both my mirrors. I'm constantly paying attention to the way that somebody's tires are angled on their car, whether they're going to pull out in front of me or not.
If they're paying attention, what they're doing. That's just it. When you're riding around in city limits, it's hard to enjoy yourself nowadays because you're constantly looking, especially after what you've been through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For somebody to even get back on a bike after going through stuff like that, you would have to show some respect.
Very scary.
I mean, I know people that ditched a bike in their lawn and won't get back on a bike. I mean, this guy's on the side of the road fighting for his life, and he was back on a bike before they even wanted him to.
Yeah.
I mean, but...
I think I went out and bought another bike before I could even ride.
Right. I mean, but here's the thing. If you're going to get on a bike, I hate to say it, but nowadays, the way people drive and whatnot...
You have to expect not to come home.
Right. It's bound to happen. I mean, like I tell...
That brings me to my one buddy. The last video I did, I was talking about my buddy, Short Bus. He was in a club for 16 years. And
oh, yeah.
Dude, he buried a bunch of his brothers. The last 3 years have been the worst, he said. He said it's so bad that he is scared for his kids, not for himself. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
But he said, I'm not letting my kid grow up without a dad.
Right. That's how I felt when that happened to you. It was weird because the first thing I thought about was your son and your wife.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. And then even the court system needs completely revised. The guy who hit me had 3 other hit skips on his record, hit me on my bike and left me on the side of the road.
He didn't know if you were breathing or not, or if you were bleeding out.
And he got $100 and some fine and went about his business. He was sleeping in his bed that night while I'm getting emergency surgery to try to bolt my arm back together. You know what I mean?
I'm out there at 4 o'clock in the morning looking for evidence to fight because,
And I had no alcohol in my system.
Yeah.
I had no alcohol, completely sober, riding my motorcycle. It was 8:30 at night during the pandemic when everything was locked down.
Right.
I was putting new bars on my bike, rode around the block to test the bars, stopped at my brother's house, who asked me to stop and have a beer.
Right.
And I said, no, I'm going to go back home. I got work in the morning. On my way home, I get hit by a guy who's under the influence. I assume he was, because who else hits somebody on a bike, leaves them laying on the side of the road for dead? and drives away, and then 6 months later is found dead on the south side of Youngstown buying drugs at 3 in the morning.
And I found out, which nobody told you, I had to find out after I put a cash reward up, you know, trying to find who did it, because in Youngstown,
nobody says nothing.
No, and nothing gets done anyways. I mean, there's cameras everywhere, but nobody, you know, nothing. But God forbid you went in there and stole something or had a bag of weed, they would find out who you are real quick.
Yeah.
But
you leave someone on the side of the road.
You leave somebody, you know, fighting for their life on the side of the road. You know, I'll never forget. I saw a picture, and it was your wife kneeled down with you on the side of the road, and every time I get on my bike now, it flashes in my mind.
That's why I got that Bluetooth, man. And I stayed conscious the whole time, so it was that was by the grace of God, because if I would have went unconscious, nobody would have had her phone number. She wouldn't have found out until the next day after my surgery. And I was so doped up on whatever pain med they were giving me, I don't even know if I was capable of calling her the next day.
You know,
let's see what else is in there.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. I even hate talking about stuff like that.
It just brings back bad memories.
Honestly, it's part, it comes with it. I mean...
Yeah, and that's one of the misconceptions, you know?
It is. Most important upgrades you should do to any motorcycle.
Yes.
That's a good one. What's usually the first upgrades you like to do? Because most of the bikes we buy are a clean slate.
Yeah.
OEM bikes.
Make them your own.
Yeah, I don't like buying bikes that are already
That's what OEM should stand for, is make it your own. Because I get a bike off the factory floor, first thing I do is the air cleaner.
Same with me.
That air intake, get that stock one off, get yourself a K&N at least. Get a K&N filter so that you can clean it every season. You can re-oil it. And then, man, I would say the first upgrades I always do is my air intake, my exhaust, and I put a fuel program. Before I do the bars, before I do the seat, before I do the foot controls, it's always the first thing I do is get the bike running. Because from the factory, they're usually running really lean. I want to get more fuel into the bike, and I want to get more air in it.
Yeah, I mean, the air is usually choked off. I mean, you wouldn't believe.
One little hole. Bringing air into
I don't even know how the damn thing honestly stays running like that, but I mean, when we buy a bike, we don't have it very long at all before we at least, hell, most of the time we got the parts to change stuff before we even got the bike. You know, but yeah, the first thing I did on the Softail was that new K&N that I got from you, the round one. And
I think it's the Arlen Ness with the K&N.
And it looks a lot better because it's round. It's not the oval. See, on a classic looking bike like my Softail Deluxe, I think that oval on there, it don't look right to me. And then you put the round air cleaners, and it looks like the old school bikes and whatnot.
Old flatheads, panheads, stuff like that. They had them round air cleaners. So that's I like the style of it, but it's just important to get air into that bike.
Yeah, that's the main point, It's not, but you know,
it's gotta look good. If you're putting the money in it, it's gotta look good.
I mean, let's face it, we don't. If it's gonna make it run better, sometimes we'll do it. If it makes it look worse, we still do it. But
people say that about 2-in-1 exhaust, all the old school guys.
That's another thing. I mean, like,
they hate 2-in-1s.
I don't know. I think they've always looked good on your bikes.
I only do them for performance. I never liked them. I like the true dual look. But the amount of performance that you get from a 2-in-1 is noticeable just from changing the exhaust.
I mean,
noticeable.
When you did that to the what was that? Your Electroglide. I honestly thought that Electroglide sounded great. I mean,
amazing. It had that thunder header, and it was a full length 2-in-1 with that thunder header on it. But I sold it back to my father-in-law, and the first thing he did was switch it out because he's a true dual guy.
He's like, an old school type. Just like my father-in-law. I mean,
if they didn't design it that way, I ain't supposed to be on there.
I mean, sometimes the old school guys get set in their ways, and that's fine. I respect.
Which is good. It keeps bikes nostalgic.
It does. That's okay. Just like my Softail Deluxe. You know, it's got the gangster white walls, the spokes. When people don't know bikes, they'll ask me, "Oh, what year is that?" You know, thinking it's an older bike.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a 2011, and they're looking at me like, you know, like.
Because it's spotless.
Right. You know, and they're looking at it and they're like, because it's got the classic look, the gangster white walls. You know, what I'm going to do next, though, I mean, usually I do the exhaust, the air cleaner. Another thing I do is, some people don't like it, but I put the Screaming Eagle plug wires on there.
Yeah, you always do that.
Yeah, because...
Your 883 runs amazing. That thing sounds like a 57 Chevy.
I mean, that thing, dude, when you hear that thing, you're like, what the hell is that?
See, coming to that, too, that's why I'm so disappointed Harley's doing away with that Evolution engine.
Yeah, I am, too.
I bought Brittany that 1200, that 48.
Right.
That thing is ignorantly loud.
Oh, yeah, dude, yeah. That thing,
ignorantly loud.
That's one of the best sounding bikes, period, that I've heard. I love that bike. I mean, that was my goal when I got that bike, was to get a 48. It don't matter what bike I buy, there's certain things that are a must. Exhaust, air cleaner.
We got about 2 minutes till we're getting off at our exit here. So I'm gonna cut this video out here, and when we come back from doing our little shopping, I'll turn this back on and we'll get some more. I think I got like 6 or so more questions, so we'll get those up here for you guys. All right, you guys, so we are back in the truck. We made it back into the wonderful state of Ohio. Did some shopping, looking for some bike parts and some fun stuff. Didn't find exactly what I was looking for, but it was worth it to get a road trip, get out on the road. So we're gonna do one more topic here for you guys. We'll get this video up, we'll see how you like it. Hopefully you guys just enjoy hearing us talk about the biker lifestyle, kind of what we do, and give you a little more insight on us.
All right, let's see what we got here. What makes someone a real biker?
A real biker.
Okay, that, you know, you could say that that depends. But I don't know. I mean, like we were talking about, I think maybe it depends on who you ask. To me, it was the old school guys that started everything, that, you know, that started the culture and all that, because it wouldn't be what it is today without those guys. You know,
I agree.
The guys coming back from war that's, you know, started a lot of the club. Even if you're not a club type person, you still have to show that respect, because we wouldn't have what we have today if it wasn't for those guys.
And I think that goes back to the whole misconceptions of being a biker. Because to me, a real biker, it doesn't matter if you ride a Harley. It doesn't matter if you ride a specific make or model of a motorcycle. To me, what matters is that you ride, that you enjoy being on two wheels, regardless of what it is.
Right.
And it's the lifestyle. Because I know people that ride every single day, and they don't go to events, they don't meet with other people that ride, they don't, it doesn't play, I guess, as big of a role in their life as it does in maybe mine.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, some people, they like to go to, you know, motorcycle rallies. Some people go to every motorcycle rally. Some people might go once a year. Personally, I mean, I've been to a few, but it might sound funny, but I've never been to Sturgis. I've never been to Daytona. It's weird. We were just talking about that, and, you know, and I'm like, man, I'm getting up there. I'm getting gray in this beard. I'm gonna have to get me to a rally or something, you know. Next time Sturgis comes up or something.
And it's even weird for me, because I've lived in Ohio my whole life. I've never been to Ohio's bike week, and it's supposed to be a really good bike week. a lot of my friends go. They all go up there. I've never been up there. I've been to Daytona. I've been to Sturgis a couple times. I've been to a bunch of other different rallies around the area. I went to Four Corners, but I've never been to the one in Sandusky, Ohio. So does that not make me a real biker?
No. I mean, honestly, I
didn't ride to Sturgis.
Right. I know some real hardcore bikers that never been to any rallies, but ride damn near all year round.
Yeah. I got a couple friends that ride. Oh man, a couple of my buddies. We went out to motorcycle events together, and we're leaving when it was snowing.
Yeah.
25-30 degree weather, and we're out on the motorcycle. So I think, to me, being a real biker is having respect for your fellow riders, enjoying all things two wheels, supporting your community, getting out there, having conversations, showing mutual interests with other people, and just actively being a part of the community.
Right. Like as a matter of fact, it wasn't that long ago, me and my wife took the Softail to Cleveland. We went to go look at a car, and it was a beautiful day. So she goes, well, let's take the bike. Okay, that sounds great. We go out there, and we pulled over for a quick second. I don't even remember what I was doing. To get my jacket out or whatever the case. And just within that amount of time, somebody stopped, and it was a guy on a street bike. Some people call it the crotch rocket or whatever. And he stopped, and he was like, you guys all right? And it's just that mutual love for motorcycles in general. And it's nice that even though, we pick fun at each other sometimes or whatnot.
100%.
I mean, I would still stop and help a guy on a street bike if he was on the side of the road. And vice versa,
But I will make fun of you if you stopped over my house on a 250 Rebel.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The first year, if you're learning on a Rebel, it's all good.
I'll still make fun of you.
Yeah.
But I will also ride next to you.
But so it was nice, when I got my balls busted for learning on a Honda, and I finally got on a Harley. But weird. But I'm going to be honest with you. All the stuff people gave me after I knew the way it felt, I mean, to me, I really don't care what somebody else rides, to be honest with you. I mean,
I don't have to ride on it.
No, right. I mean, like we said, that don't define the person, and I understand that. You don't know, maybe the guy's just learning. Maybe, I'm going to be honest, it looks more ridiculous for somebody to go buy a brand new Street Glide and try to learn on that.
Yeah. More dangerous too.
Right, and that would seem ridiculous.
And that's getting back to the whole thing, even seeing somebody broke down on the side of the road, and that's one of the big things in the motorcycle community. Even in my truck, whenever I'm driving in this truck, I got a toolbox behind me, a complete mechanic set. I could literally tear your entire bike down and fix whatever. So when I see people broke down on the side of the road or even just pulled over, I will pull over and ask, hey man, you all right? Everything good? If it is, I'll get back on the road. You need to get a ride to go get some gas or something. So it's just always being aware, because we share that bond that, I would probably say only 5% of the population rides motorcycles. Yeah,
I mean, believe it or not, I found that it is actually pretty big up here in Northeast Ohio, Western PA.
One of the largest riding populations in the entire country.
Right, which I really didn't think about that until I started riding. And you're like, for a state that gets so cold and has such horrible roads.
6-month season.
Right, and these roads are so bad, you damn near need a Hummer to drive on them. You're like, there's quite a bit of bikers around here, but it's a mutual respect, I would say. I mean, it was nice that out of all these people driving past, out of the 50 cars that passed me, the one guy to stop was the guy on the crotch rocket.
Yeah.
You know, it was nice.
Even in the stunt community. Now I know there is a lot of separation in the motorcycle community. Like a lot of the guys that ride the full dressers, the touring bikes, they don't want to ride with me when I'm on my Dyna or when I'm on my lowrider.
Yeah, that's true.
They'll give me a weird look, and hey, it's not because I can't afford one. Trust me, I got one sitting in my garage.
It's just different people prefer different things.
Yeah, I don't feel as comfortable on a full dresser. Now, let me rephrase that, because they're super comfortable bikes, but I don't feel as good on that bike as I do on my Lowrider S.
Yeah, maybe more confident, I guess you could say.
Oh yeah, I'll take a turn on the Lowrider S doing 60 mile an hour, no problem, but on the bagger, I second guess it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess that's always been a big issue for me, because I have friends that say, oh, you don't think I'm a real biker because I ride a street bike. That's not it at all. I'm giving you a hard time because I'm a Harley guy and I like American made stuff. But at the other end of the spectrum, I'm driving a Nissan Frontier pickup truck. So
I drive a Saab.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong if I come off the wrong way about the Harleys. I had a Honda Magna V45, and then I had a Honda American Classic Edition Shadow 750.
You figure out in your mind what you're looking forward to, or what you want.
What you expect.
Right, yeah, right. You know, and it's like, yeah, you can enjoy a Honda just as much as a Harley, but the sound of a Harley, the feeling of a Harley, it's just a little different. You know, it's like going from a Porsche, you know, to a Camry. Yeah, this Camry will get you there just fine. Yes, it's dependable, but it don't feel the same.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing. When I went to Sturgis, I was riding a Honda at the time. When I went to Sturgis, my father-in-law said, that thing ain't going in my trailer.
Yeah, I remember that, right.
And I kind of laughed, because I was like, man, this guy's...
He was serious, though.
I said, he's crazy.
Right.
Like, my Honda shit all over that Sportster, which it would. Speed-wise, my Honda was faster than the Sportster.
Right.
But when I was out there riding in Sturgis on that Sportster, the vibration, the feeling of that bike,
right?
I was sold. And when I came home, the first thing I did was I sold that Honda.
I remember that, yeah.
I went out and bought myself a 93 Dyna Lowrider, and I rode that thing for 5 years.
Which was a beautiful bike.
All right, you guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna fill up some gas in my truck, and I'm gonna get home. We spent about 6 hours on the road. This was a couple minutes of it. Hope you guys enjoy it. Leave a message down below. If you like this kind of content, let me know. We'll get more up.
Have a good one, guys.